this off, I want you all to listen very carefully and raise your hands if you relate to anything I'm about to say, okay? Who here thinks they are a people pleaser? Oh boy. Okay, who here feels like they're kind of out of place sometimes? I love high school. Who here is a chronic overthinker? Yeah! So, anyone who's raised their hands here, congratulations right off the bat, because that means we are off to a horrible start. Because that hand raise tells me something, that you all probably care way too much about what other people think, or about what society thinks, right? And you know that this is insanely tiring, considering what people care about you every day, but I doubt any of you are willing to just stop caring, to drop the bit, right? Because what are you without these expectations? A life without what people tell you to do, a life without what people expect you to do sounds depressing and pretty generally tiring because these things give us meaning, right? Well, personally, I think it's kind of goofy. I think that everyone should chillax a little because not caring can be kind of fun, beneficial even. There is happiness to be found in the meaningless. Humanity has gone far too long, as in centuries long, inflating their own self-importance and making this a standard that everyone else follows, right? I mean, do they like me enough? Does this organization like me enough? Will I get accepted? That's how we value our own self-worth at this point. But that's crazy. The only thing that really makes us special is our noggin right here, a flesh brain that sometimes electrocutes itself to make an idea or two. And while we think that's important, right? Here's the thing. Any thought that we have ever had or will have is meaningless in comparison to the global issues that we will never be a part of. Even that, then, is quite literally nothing in comparison to the infinity that is time and space and the future of humanity itself. And that's just on the large scale, too, right? Even when it comes to interpersonal interaction. So when you talk to one another, everything we do tends to come off as kind of useless in the long run because the rest of society doesn't care what we do on a day-to-day basis. Chances are no amount of effort you put will ever change the world. No conversation you have will ever be important enough to jot down. And no good deed of yours, big or small, will ever be impactful enough to be remembered. Now, whether or not that's actually true kind of doesn't matter, because I know at some point we've all thought it, right? It means that I could do a ridiculous dance on stage right now, and it could go for an excruciatingly long amount of time. It would be something like, yeah, 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 yeah. Right. And even though that's insanely embarrassing, and it'll probably be brought up in my, college yearbook when I'm dead, none of you will care by tomorrow. I mean, none of you will remember by next month. So, if that won't make a dent in other people's memories, then what will? Thing is, I think the answer to that is nothing. Because for the most part, our little actions and ideas and aspirations kind of don't matter to a lot of people. They simply have other things to care about, right? So, does anything we do matter at all? When humanity values every second of the day, every minute of an hour, and yet it will never matter enough to a universe that has had quintillions of eons to exist, a universe that we will never know the full extent of, then does anything we do matter? Well, to a nihilist, the answer is a quick and easy no. No, it doesn't matter. Nothing does. Because out of 8 billion people, how are we going to be the top 1 or 2 that actually makes it out alive? This is the definition of nihilism, after all. The belief that everything is objectively meaningless, that everything is null. So why do anything at all? See, it's annoyingly easy to succumb to this philosophy, to this depression almost, when grasping the concept of existence. Why are we here? What are we here for? Does life have a meaning? If none of those questions can be answered, and I'm sure none of you can answer without this entire room breaking out in a fight, then it tends to leave people a little lost. That's why we have such dominating belief systems, right? Like religion and philosophies. The belief in some higher deity or some inherent human worth beyond our understanding is what gives a lot of us meaning where otherwise there is none. Except that's the tricky thing with nihilism, isn't it? It isn't the result of one bad day that you get an existential crisis. It's the result of months and years of feeling worthless and just simply useless to the rest of the world. This is especially true when those dominating belief systems don't fit you. What happens when you can't just jump to another religion or ideology for protection because you ceased to believe that any of them work at all? Well, you will probably find yourself taking on a worldview that rejects objectivity. Objectively, believing in a deity doesn't matter. Objectively, passing that next test doesn't matter. And objectively, being a good person does not matter. Because, and we all know it, we all die anyway. And our deaths are neither predictable nor satisfying. So what is the point? See, in this case, the world seems like it's against you. It's easier to just lay down and crumble for a while before being pulled into something else, like org work that doesn't affect your overall grade. To some, right, it's kind of depressing. It makes you feel anxious about pursuing anything at all because clearly whatever you do doesn't matter. No wonder people don't trust nihilists as much as they do now. With everything I've just said, you look like you're on a one-way street to becoming this century's next Hitler. Clearly, when no moral is too big and no action is too small, it kind of sucks. However, I do think there is a way to nuance this. Assuming that nothing has meaning and nothing at all, right? Then we, as people, have the unique ability to assign meaning to anything we want. See, just because our choices don't matter doesn't mean that we lose the ability to choose. So, with objectivity out of the picture, that choice can instead go into things we find subjectively valuable. Our opinion now weighs more to ourselves than fact does. It matters more. I mean, come on, there's nothing meaningful enough to stop you, right? So, you can have fun. You can do what you want because life's little objective judgments no longer have to weigh you down. You can find happiness in being meaningless. So, suddenly, you don't have to be the top 1 or 2 out of 8 billion people, and you can find solace in your own abilities and actions. With this nuance comes the understanding that we can be awesome, that we can be special, whether or not people agree we are. Because They have an opinion, and we have an opinion, and clearly, which one matters more, right? This is called optimistic nihilism. Or absurdism. Okay, they are slightly different and it depends on who you ask, but for the sake of satisfying speech symmetry, let's just call it optimistic nihilism, okay? So, what is it? Same idea, almost the same word, but with different takes on how to respond to the concept of nothing mattering. I know, it might sound a little kooky because I just spent the last, 5 or 6 minutes telling you about how god-awfully depressing nihilism is. And let's be honest, the world is so complicated as it is today, how can we possibly just stop caring about things? But okay, give me some time to convince you. Why do you sing in the shower? Whether it be Call Me Maybe, or Popular from Wicked, or I don't know, something just like this Kids Bop version. It's weird, but hey, I don't judge, right? Anyways, you're in the bath. You're probably singing in the shower because in the safety of your bath, you escape the judgment of others. Under the nice cold water after a swelteringly hot Filipino day, you find that there are not a lot of factors under the water that will care about what you're doing in the moment. And so, for that moment, you finally get to focus on you, yourself, and you only. Pretty cool, right? Now, imagine that on a slightly larger scale. If a lack of external factors helps us feel a little more free in the midst of a largely stuffy society, then what if we can make that come from within? Make it so that it's just you on the stage, no audience in sight, even if there is. Make it so that those external factors, those judgments and gossips don't matter. And you can maybe finally focus on what you want, regardless of whether or not others think it's important or contributing to society, right? So, I think this means a few things. First, probably just becomes easier to forgive yourself, right? We all have a difficult time doing that. It's so hard to get over something wrong you said the other day. But come on, your faults are pretty small in the face of, literally everything. When life is short and we all die anyway and nothing before that matters, are you going to spend all of your meaningless time moping about something wrong you might have said the other day when, let's be honest, you haven't even asked the other person if they're offended? Right? Maybe that mistake wasn't so bad. Maybe you can now choose to care less about it because it doesn't have to contribute to you as an overall person. So then maybe it's easier to let go and move on, to forgive yourself for an ultimately meaningless bad action and start living the way you want. Which leads to the second thing, right? You no longer, with optimistic nihilism, have to be pressured about being top one. Yes, I know how you high schoolers think. That's why we join orgs. That's why we study ridiculously hard until 3 in the morning, or we don't sleep at all, right? Because I've met too many people that think that getting the highest scores or passing with the flyingest of colors is the most important thing when, let's be honest, you can still achieve your dreams just as well, even if the path leading up to it is a bit rocky. I mean, guys, I failed my 7th grade final project. I still made it to senior high school. I mean, heck, I'm in senior high school, and I feel like I've chosen the wrong strand. I kind of want to be a Humes kid. That won't prevent me from making it into college. Probably, I hope not, right? With optimistic nihilism, it's not as pressuring to make the right choice every single time, to be the best every single time. Because now, those short-term awards won't matter in comparison to your long-term goals. Widely successful people probably didn't get straight A's in high school, so let yourself care less about it. These things clearly don't matter as much as society makes them out to be. Which leads to a last thing, right? Optimistic nihilism makes it easier to chase your goals, to dream big, and finally do what you've actually been wanting to do all this time, even if that isn't dreaming big, right? I mean, yeah, sure, your goals don't matter. Frankly, I could care less. But it doesn't change the fact that your little ape brain gets all happy and satisfactory when you do chase them. So, go after that fulfillment outside the expectations of other people. Because who cares if they dislike you? Who cares if they disagree with you? Their opinions can be meaningless if you choose for them to be. Remember, your existence is fleeting enough as it is. You might as well make it so that the only person who actually experiences it, which is you, enjoys it. So, before I taper this off, just remember that this doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? Being an optimistic nihilist doesn't mean that I should give up on everything I've ever wanted ever, because a lot of people who go into this ideology already have goals and dreams that they want to achieve. It just now becomes easier to do so when every misstep and failure doesn't feel like the end of the world, because you can finally move on from them when you have the choice to decide on what does and does not matter to you. You could even learn to prioritize better, and I know we all need that, procrastinators. So, I like optimistic nihilism because it replaces the anxiety I felt before about never achieving enough, never getting that top 10, never being the best debater, right? Those negative emotions come from the endless comparisons with other people. I mean, heck, my captain is speaking as the last speaker later. You know that I am comparing my speech right now as we talk, right? So, added to that is the fact that you will fumble inevitably every time you pursue your goals. I felt like I'd never be special enough, but suddenly with this nihilism, the idea of special no longer has to be grounded in fact or objectivity. It can be whatever I want, because life is way too short to limit myself to the expectations of people who will never get to know me. You can choose to live your life how you want, good or bad, boring or fun, left or right, because who cares? It's liberating to do this because optimistic nihilism gives you that choice more clearly than you might have had it before, especially in such a ridiculously complex world that throws far too many things at us on the daily. There is confidence in being inconsequential. There is happiness in being meaningless. So, do a dumb dance on stage. Because although it's insanely embarrassing, that embarrassment doesn't have to matter. Nothing does. And maybe that's okay.